Baker places where they're cutting the road in.
Well, they did cut like one batch of trees, you know, like they got the road going in where they're leveling and clearing and all that. But then there's a batch of, I don't know, 250 feet, 300 feet wide.
That's what you could do it.
All depends on this. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the Augusta 5th, 2021 meeting of the Columbia County Planning Commission to order. If you'll stand with us, Commissioner Wilder will lead us in our invocation, and I'd like to ask the two scouts in the audience tonight to come forward and lead us in the pledge.
How about with us? Dear Lord, we thank you for yet another beautiful day. We thank you for this nice little cool spring. We thank you for the little rain. We ask that you bring us a little more. We ask that you guide our proceedings tonight. Look over us. Have us do as you. We ask that you, everyone here, the heart to faith. We ask that everyone here tonight, please have a safe journey home after this meeting. All these things in Jesus'
Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Thank you, gentlemen. And while you gentlemen are standing, could you tell us what troop you're from and why you're here tonight? Give us your names. Okay, for sit in the community? Okay, awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming out tonight. And y'all have picked an interesting meeting to come to tonight. We may be done by 10:30 tonight, so we've got a fairly long agenda. So we do have all five commissioners here tonight. I'm glad Commissioner Futch made it in. He flew in from the West Coast and was in our pre-meeting on the phone on the way from the airport. So I appreciate the effort you put into getting here, and glad Delta got you home. You've had an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting. If there are no additions or amendments, I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. Mr. Wilder, I believe we have one additional item before we consider approving the agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to add item H2B1, a temporary use authorization request at 6123 Gray Road.
Are there any other items that need to be added to the agenda? Okay, if not, I need a motion for approval with the additional Gray Road.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Motion to approve the agenda as amended passes 5-0. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. Decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on August 17th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in these same chambers. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at this meeting, please see Ms. Kara Harden, and she will give you a request to speak form for their meeting. We're less formal in our meeting tonight. We'd like to give everyone an opportunity to speak their mind on our public hearing items. If you have something you'd like to add, either in favor of, in against, or if you just have an opinion that's neither one way or the other, raise your hand. We'll ask you to come to the dais and spend 3 to 5 minutes giving us your information. We also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting in our public, we open the floor for public input. If you have something that you'd like to give us as far as information to consider or communicate to our appointing commissioners, each one of us is appointed by one of the commissioners, please come up again, raise your hand. We'll ask you to come up to the dais and take 3 to 5 minutes to give us that information. That being said, let's go ahead. We've got about 20 items on the agenda tonight, so we're going to get on here and try to deal with this as efficiently as we can. Butler, file RZ 21-07-04.
Thank you. This is a request for rezoning, 229 Lewiston Road from R1 to S1 special for a proposed plant nursery. Just let everybody know the applicant has requested to withdraw without prejudice, so we'll kind of hit the high points on this one and then move into y'all's vote. Again, it shows the location of the property on the west side of Lewiston Road. And currently zone R1, pretty much everything around it is zone R1. You have to the north, the S1B's property, which is for a church. Then you have down here at the bottom, around the gateway area, that's where all of your commercial is. This area of the site, again, undeveloped, does have a small house here, and the existing site, and the plat of the property, and the overall development plan. So the idea with the original submittal was this would be a landscape supply business. This was submitted as part of it, but they've basically don't know what that would be, so it's basically be taken out of the request. Landscape supply with this, or actually they submitted as a nursery, excuse me. In our opinion, it's more of a landscape supply business and more of an industrial use. In terms of this shows a zoning sketch, basically again showing the proposed building and the storage of the trees and shrubs around it, and the proposed development itself, and that as well. Future development, again, with this use, what you have here, let me go back with that. So everywhere that is in yellow, that's supposed to remain as residential. And the areas down here, those are within our activity center, both of these are within that. That would be where your commercial development could go. Again, it's pretty much outside of the future development map anticipated development area. So again, staff would recommend disapproval of this request if they had not requested to withdraw without prejudice. Again, the applicant has requested to withdraw without prejudice, and that includes staff recommendation.
Could we go back one slide? Mr. Butler, could you indicate on the map just for us where Bluegrass Trail is? I believe the commissioners have kind of established that as the boundary for commercial development along that corridor.
You can see it with this. Again, the Bluegrass Trail is where the blue arrow is. Again, that blue area above it, that is really where the end of commercial can be. Now, we do have a provision within the revised Vision 2035 that does allow for development to grow organically out from an activity center. So you could start essentially seeing some development in this area. But again, we've said in the past that you'd have to basically bring in all of these properties at once to make that happen. We're not going to end up just kind of hopping around like what's happening on Bel Air Road. So that's the intent behind that.
Okay.
But again, that is true. There is the line currently is where that is.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
We'll reopen the public hearing on this. The applicant has asked to withdraw without prejudice, so I'll ask if the applicant's here tonight. Okay, seeing that, is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve the withdrawal request.
Mr. Chairman, we have one in the back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward? I was blinded looking out the door. I didn't see you back there. Please give us your name and home address.
My name's Richard Epps. I live at 5214 Mill Creek Lane. The little dead-end road right beside this property. I understand you say it's been withdrawn, but people on the road, we would rather have that there than anything else. I don't know, what else can you build there? Houses? What's the plan?
I think the thing that's been communicated to me is until we see a final plan for the road, there is concern that there's not a curb cut, because when we developed Washington Road, we did that with local tax money. So we didn't have to go by DOT standards and put a divided median down the middle of Washington Road like DOT would have required us to. This is a DOT project, so there's going to be a median that runs down this entire length of road, and we're not sure exactly where the curb cuts are going to be. So the concern is there's not going to be a curb cut in front of this property, so you're going to have heavy construction trucks and trailers and that kind of thing doing U-turns up at the the Kroger light, and down below maybe in front of the church, so it could create some kind of a traffic issue. So until we get the final plans on that and see how the traffic can flow, I believe they're concerned about something that might become a traffic hazard to the rest of the occupants.
So that's the reason you guys would not approve it?
That's the reason that they withdrew it, because Mr. Mills, Matt Mills, when I spoke to him, wasn't aware there was going to be a divided median along that stretch of the road. They thought it was going to be a 5-lane road. So I believe they're gonna talk to the church and find out if they can get some kind of an easement through there to eliminate that potential traffic problem. So we're just trying to get ahead of a problem so we don't have people come up and say, gee, the traffic's terrible. Y'all haven't done anything, you haven't planned, you haven't addressed anything.
Well, if it's disapproved, what could be built there?
It depends on how it's zoned, Mr.
So right now it's zone R1, so you could put houses there. It's zoned the exact same way as your house is. So you could basically do the same thing that's already shown right here.
How many houses could you put on that 12 or 13 acres?
Probably about 8 or so, maybe.
But not 25 or?
No, not unless
I thought I read a thing that said something about where somebody mentioned 1 to 3 houses per acre.
Sure. So as part of, this could be rezoned potentially. Now they have to come back before all of us to be able to do that. So yeah, it could be rezoned to R2 potentially. Now, you gotta request that.
But Richard, the nursery has not been disapproved.
I understand that.
I mean, it very likely will come back at some point when they figure out what the traffic's gonna do.
Yeah, what I read some stuff about it, and I never saw anything mentioned about traffic.
Yeah, the traffic issue is one that it's a design issue. From staff standpoint, we follow the future development map, and that's where we're gonna say, this is a request for industrial use. It's not really permitted within a residential area. That's how we're viewing it. So that's why our recommendation was disapproval.
How do the people that run the same kind of business over on Washington Road, for instance, they're in residential areas?
Which one on Washington Road?
My point is, I'm for the thing, and I guess tonight's not the night to be arguing about whether you're for it or against it if it's withdrawn, but
Right.
I appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve the withdrawal, to deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to allow withdrawal without prejudice for RZ 210704.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor to withdraw without prejudice? Motion passes 5-0. Ms. Mystery, we've got a two-part unfinished business here. We'll take the presentation together, but we'll vote on them separately.
Yes.
Okay? Please proceed.
So this is a rezoning and a major revision, Part 1 and Part 2. The location is 561 and 571 Baker Place Road on a total of 20.5 acres. The current zoning is R2 and M1 and S1. And the rezoning request is to S1 for the church and a major revision to the S1 for the expansion of the church and associated uses. Here is the location. So these two parcels are owned by the church. Here's a zoning map. The parcel to the south, which is S1 already, was zoned in 2018 for the church. And the church has purchased the parcel to the north, which is industrial and R2 at the moment. Current zoning around there is R2, RA, PUD, industrial, kind of mix over there. Here's a close-up of the aerial. So today we're considering the parcel to the north as a rezoning to S1 special, and then the major revision to the S1 for the full plan. Here is the 2018 approved layout. So you can see that there's proposed buildings and a parking lot for the church shown on the parcel that's already zoned S1. Here is the plat of the properties. And the initial proposal that came in March showed the church building and parking area on the north parcel, and then the recreation fields on the southern side. So on the initial layout, the access into the church property was off Baker Place Road right here. There's two entrance points here. And then an internal driveway with drive coming this way, lane, and one over there too. So this is the aerial that shows the two properties, and with the traffic department commenting on the the traffic issues at the intersection with PB Road, Baker Place Lane, and Baker Place Road. The goal of the traffic department is to have a proposed road, which would be a county road, which is the yellow dotted line, that would go through the church property as in the direction where it's shown, and that would also improve the current traffic problems on Baker Place Road. So the applicant and the engineer has met with the staff several times to come up with this new layout. So this would be the county road, and the church access would be off here. And the general layout with the building, parking lots, recreations stay the same. Here are the site photographs and the future development map. So the timing of the construction of the road and the construction for the church would have to be worked out between the two parties. So that would still be in the works while this is going on. And staff's recommendation is an approval of the rezoning to the S1 and a major revision to S1 for the church and associated uses. And the conditions for both is the same. So the architectural elevations will require planning commission approval prior to permitting. The engineer will meet with county landscape architect on site to review the required tree survey before 50% of the site plan design. Goal of this meeting will be to map out certain trees on site that will be saved within the required buffer strips, parking lot, and buffers. And no water service traps are allowed from the 16-inch water main. Any connections must be 6-inch in diameter or larger.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions? Okay, so this will be a two-part motion. I'll need a motion to approve, deny, or to table Part 1 of File RZ 210601 from R zoning from R2 to and M1 to S1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
don't forget you have a public hearing. You have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is there any, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? All right. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Either Part 1 or Part 2? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and now accept a motion. I'm sorry. When we move into unfinished business at the beginning, it throws me off my rhythm a little bit, so. Gentlemen, floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with conditions, file RZ 210601, rezoning from M1 and R2 to S1 for a church at 561 Baker Place Road.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. And now we'll move to Part 2, Major S1, Special Revision Tax Map 051. Lost my train of thought here. So we'll need a motion to approve, deny, or to table the second part of this particular revision.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with conditions, file RZ 210601, rezoning from M1 and R2 to S1 for a church at 571 Baker Place Road.
Do I hear a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve Part 2 of this series passes 5-0. Ms. McGrath, I believe you have the next one. It's a variance on file VA 210701.
Yes, sir. This variance request is at 5829 Carriage Hills Drive. This was postponed from the July 15th meeting to allow time for an easement encroachment agreement to be submitted and to allow for some additional feedback from the HOA. This is the location of the property in Carriage Hills behind Stallings Island Middle School. And is currently zoned R2 single-family residential, as is the rest of the neighborhood. The school and the adjacent properties are part of the River Island Planned Unit development. The variance request was triggered by construction of a carport structure located approximately where the red rectangle is shown on the site. And this was the original grading plan for the property. You can see the lot does have some slope to it, but it's not extreme. This is the existing house and the existing carport structure. and some additional photos of it. The structure does go very close to the property line. We do have an as-built now available. The applicant had also originally submitted pictures showing it was within 2 feet of the property line. And then we did also come across this fence that had been constructed as well, which then got folded into the variance request. Fences for residential property, when they're within the side or rear setbacks, are required to be less than 6 feet tall. This fence, we'll say, is well back from the front of the house, so it is well in compliance with the front building setback, so that's not a concern. However, the fence is 9 feet tall, and therefore it cannot extend to the property line. It would have to meet the 10-foot side setback in the R2 zoning district. Staff doesn't see any real reason for this fence to be 9 feet tall in this location, so we would recommend disapproving the portion of the variance for the fence. Now, I do note that only applies to that portion within the setback, so only the 10 feet from the property line would be affected by that. And this is the as-built of the property showing the carport structure, as well as showing some fencing and other improvements on the Board of Education property. The carport where it's built is not able to meet building codes. There's requirements for spacing from the property lines, or alternatively, fire protection that would be very difficult to impossible to meet with the carport as it's currently constructed. Basically what that means is that in order to meet building codes, they're going to have to remove the carport and rebuild it. With that being the case, since they're going to have to take it down and rebuild it, it's staff's position that they should then rebuild it in a location that is in compliance with the setbacks rather than being granted a variance. Staff is therefore recommending disapproval with conditions regarding removal of the portions of the site that are not in compliance. So the first one deals with the encroachment onto the Board of Education property. So removal of the fence that is encroaching onto the school property, as well as removal of the carport structure and the portion of the fence within the side setback that would need to be reduced to 6 feet in height. I do also want to note that the HOA does have some say as well, since they do have an active HOA. The county would not get involved really in what their final decision is if they may require the removal of the rest of the fence. We did get an initial determination from the HOA that they were not in favor of approving the carport structure, but as far as I'm aware, they've not yet made a decision on the fence. And that concludes the staff recommendation.
I have one question. Have we received anything officially from the Board of Education? Because I know they've performed us. Okay, just to the comment. Okay, so do we need anything official from them requesting that the fence be moved?
And this is the official request from the Board of
Okay,
Education.
okay.
It would be a condition of the variance.
Okay, got it. It just didn't look like it was, to me, it read strongly enough that it needed to be.
And that's why there's a timeline on it, that
Okay.
since it's on the property, it needs to be
Okay.
removed within
Okay.
90 days.
Got it. Okay. Gentlemen, do you have any questions? Okay. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward, give us your name, home address, and any additional information?
Em Phương Tông, application of fire July Cashville. For the side fence, I will cut down to meet the standard 6 feet. But on the back, if they not approve, so I will willing to remove that as soon as I can. But for the carport structure, so what is the recommendation for me to do?
To take it down.
Take it down and reapply.
Mm-hmm.
So if I reapply, I can keep the same size. I have to set back a little bit further, like 4 or 5 feet between the.
I would refer you to staff about
Yes, sir.
where to position it on the lot so you can meet the setbacks. I would also encourage you to get with Mr. Scarberry over there, because I believe you constructed this without a permit. Would that be correct? Okay, so there's some rules you're going to have to follow to be able to reconstruct this. You're also going to have to get approval from the HOA about anything that you want to do. You just can't build it because you want to do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Or excuse me, rezoning? Was it, change it? Where are we?
Variance.
Variance.
I'm sorry, gosh. I think I'm getting COVID or something. I can't stay focused. But, gentlemen, I know we've got some folks from the HOA over here. Do y'all have anything you'd like to add on behalf of the HOA? All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to disapprove with the following conditions. 31071.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to disapprove passes 5-0. Got a minor waiver that's presented for action only. Ms. Mystery.
Yes, so this is a minor waiver application on 1011 Walgreens Drive on 1.25 acres. Current zoning is C1 neighborhood commercial, and it was approved on July the 26th. Here is the location, which is behind Walgreens on Furious Ferry. Is the zoning map showing the C1 and the surrounding various zonings. Close-up of the aerial. And here is a site plan. So there's several restrictions on this property for building. The engineer has met the setback on Furious Ferry, which is a maximum and a minimum, 5 feet and 125. It has frontages, Walgreens Drive and Preakness on the other two sides, so it doesn't meet the maximum 55 setback. There is a large hatched area here, which is the utility easement. So that also is a restriction on placement of the building. And so the minor waiver was approved for the 10% to allow for this plan to, that was approved on the 26th.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions on this information-only item? Okay, we've got our temporary use are on Gray Road. Butler.
Thanks for the request for temporary use authorization for a maximum of 3 travel trailers, aka an RV, during construction or replacement of a home at 6123 Gray Road. This is the location of the property off of Gray Road, which is off of Louisville Road, out west end of the county. Again, everything around it is zoned, it's zoned RA, and everything else around it is also zoned RA, residential agricultural. There's an aerial view of the site. We'll see in a moment. Does not look like this at all anymore. And this is the previous site layout. Again, this came before y'all back in July. At that point, it was disapproved, and the applicant went and did a lot of the cleanup that was requested by this body. This kind of shows what the old site layout was. And also the previous site photos from code enforcement. Again, the previous site photos there. This is the existing site. Quite a large change on the property. Again, has been thoroughly cleaned up. Does not look anything like it did before. Again, remove all the existing structures that were there. So this is the site plan. Again, it's the same one that we saw before, but really what matters is the kind of this part over here. This does show the 3 different RVs and also a porta potty. In terms of the request itself, staff does not think we can allow more than 1 travel trailer due to codes. Also, with the porta potty itself, there was some question about that before. Health department came back to us and said that it's because it's going to be occupied basically 24/7. They cannot allow a porta potty on the site. They're going to have to connect to a septic system, which should be in this general location, or they have to construct a new one. And what we'll see next is the examples of the 2 RVs. And also, again, the site recommends disapproval for the 3 travel trailers and the proposed porta potty, with approval for 1 travel trailer.
All right, gentlemen, any questions, staff? This is not a public hearing, however, we may ask the applicant to come forward. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Okay, yes, ma'am, would you mind coming forward, give us your name and home address, and I believe Mr. Dempsey has a question or 2 for you.
Yeah, my home address is 310 Grandy's Mill Road, Williston, South Carolina.
And I understand you're still requesting 3 trailers.
Sure.
And that's not gonna happen. So when you move 1 to live in, I assume you're gonna move the other two on the property and leave them empty, or you gonna try to live in them?
Well, I have to move them there because I have nowhere else to put them.
I didn't answer my question. Are you gonna attempt to use all three of them?
I will not.
There's gonna be a problem hooking to the septic tank.
There's already an existing septic tank there.
You know if it works?
Health department hadn't been out, but the trailer was there, it was working before we demoed it.
Their fall from where the camper's gonna sit, so that gravity does its job to get the waste from the camper to the septic tank. Have you had all that checked and measured?
That's what we were in the process of doing now with the grading of the land. Sewell, Construction and Development has, after I did the initial cleanup of a 40-yard container, they come in and help tear down all the major structures and got that disposed of. And the grading of the land is happening right now for it to be.
Did
like
Mr.
you said.
Sewell attempt to inspect the septic tank for you?
No, sir.
Did he make an offer to do that?
No, sir.
Mr. Dempsey, do you have a connection to the health department where you might could assist in getting that septic tank inspected?
I'm the chairman of the Board of Health in Columbia County. So we need to have Ms. Fraser come out and check it and inspect it to make sure that it will or will not work before anything can be done.
All right, gentlemen, any other questions? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the one camper, because that is what we always do on property when somebody's trying to build. We cannot approve more than one because we'd be setting a precedent. However, I want to make some restrictions on this motion.
Like to add some additional conditions?
Add the additional conditions. If after the one is moved there and moved into, if at any time we find that somebody's living in the other two that are sitting on the property, we're going to take back the opportunity for the first one to be occupied.
You would rescind the TUA?
We would rescind it if we find anybody staying in the other two, because we cannot let but one be there.
And you'd also like to include the other conditions with no porta potty on the site?
Well, there's not gonna be any, per the health department, and I was involved in those conversations, there cannot be porta potties.
Okay. Do I hear a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve one unit with the conditions added passes 5-0. Mr. Butler, massage operator's license for Retreat Spa and Salon.
Yes, sir. It's a request for a new officer at Retreat Spa and Salon LLC, which does require a new massage operator's license for that officer. It's for on-premise and mobile massage services. Ms. Kiplinger meets the requirements of the ordinance. So I recommend approval of the MOL.
Okay, gentlemen, do you have any questions, staff? We'll need a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the massage operator's license for Retreat Spa and Salon LLC, massage therapist Jennifer Kiplinger at 4246 Washington Road, and mobile massage services.
Excuse me, sir, could I ask you to remove your hat while you're in the meeting? Thank you. Okay, the motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? To approve passes 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, we have two final plats tonight. The first is for Greenpoint Phase 1B.
Yes, sir, this is the final plat for Phase 1B of Greenpoint off Appling Harlem Road. This is part of a planned residential development. This is the location off Appling Harlem behind the existing phase of Greenpoint. And this phase includes 50 residential lots, includes 2 lot types as defined under the PRD, designated as PR2 and PR3. Average lot sizes are 9,484 square feet and 7,499 square feet respectively. All of the lots are required to have a minimum driveway length of 25 feet, although the setbacks vary between 20 and 25 feet depending on the lot type. Side setbacks are a minimum of 7.5 feet, and rear setbacks are a minimum of 10 feet. Sidewalks are provided on both sides of the road. 2.75 acres of open space is provided in this section. And these are the existing site photos. And staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, do you have any questions of staff? This is not a public hearing, so I'll need a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Greenpoint Phase 18,
1B.
1B. Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, will stay with you, a final plat for John's Landing.
Yes, sir. This is the final plat for John's Landing on Linwood Drive, currently zoned R3 single-family residential. This is the location of the property off Riverwatch Parkway at the end of Linwood Drive. And the plat, which includes 22 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 7,629 square feet and an average lot size of 9,662 square feet. Setbacks are a minimum of 50 feet from the center line of the roads and 10 feet from the side and rear property lines per the R3 zoning district. We do have minor waiver requests in for lots 1 through 5. Those are waiting final processing of the final plat, and that's related to this existing utility easement you see at the back of the lots. Not gonna let me draw again. Which kind of restricted their buildable depth, so they're requesting the minor waivers to be able to move the houses a little bit closer to the road and give them a little more backyard. Sidewalks are provided on both sides of the roads in this development, and 0.075 acres of open space is provided. That's primarily their sign easements and their cluster mailbox. And this is the existing site. And staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions? Not a public hearing, so I'll need a motion from one of you gentlemen to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the final plat for John's Landing located on Linwood Drive.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. We'll move into our public hearing portion of the meeting. Ms. Mystery, file VA 2107-02.
Yes, so this is a variance for 516 North Bel Air Road on 0.903 acres. Current zoning is C2, general commercial, and the existing use is a fast food restaurant, and the variances are for 90-98, list of lot and structure requirements, and 9147, I3, use provisions. Here is the location, which is off North Bel Air Road, and it's actually the current Brewster's location. The zoning map is C2, and most of the property around there is C2 and C1 with some residential behind it. This is the close-up of the aerial that shows the existing structure and parking area. And just to note here that this property is unusual in the sense that it has 3 frontages on Bel Air. Peachtree wraps around 2 other frontages. Here are the site photographs and the plat. Here is the concept plan. So basically the idea is to demolish Brewster's, and this will be a new KFC restaurant, new building, new parking area. And you can see that it will meet the maximum setback on North Bel Air here, but the variances for Peachtree, which is these 2 elevations, which won't meet the maximum setbacks because of the 3 frontages that the site has. And here is the setback slide that shows where the red is, would be the required setback. And then the other variance is for drive-through lanes, and this is in Evans Town Center Overlay District, that requires the drive-through windows to be not on public road frontages. And so the building has been designed to have the drive-up windows on this side, which is facing the commercial property, which is where we would want to see it. Because of the parking and stacking requirements for traffic flow to make this work, the red line on the left shows where the variance for the drive-through is required for the use provisions. So staff is recommending approval for the variances.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions to staff? Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? All right. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing to accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve file VA 210702 to increase setback, allow drive-through on the front of the building.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And allow a drive-through on the front of the building or the side of the building?
Sorry.
Okay. Second still hold for the revised motion? All right. Gentlemen, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Approved, carries 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, file RZ 210801, major PUD revision.
Yes, sir. This is a revision at 227 Hornsby Lane in regards to a proposed retaining wall on the property. This is the location of the site in River Island off Blackstone Camp Road. Currently part of the River Island PUD, so zoned planned unit development, as are all surrounding properties. You can see this is near the edge of the River Island PUD, so property to the south transitions back into R1 single-family residential. This is the aerial of the property. I will tell you this section does not look like this anymore, not quite so undeveloped. So this is the existing lot here up to the right. The adjacent house has obviously already been constructed, and you can see the slope. There is quite a grade difference between these two lots. Basically, the request is to take that slope, which you can see on their original grading plan. So that slope was created as part of development of this site. And there you can see a little bit closer image of the slope. But the plan is to basically replace that slope with a retaining wall, which would have a maximum height of 10 feet. It is proposed at 3 feet from the property line, so it does not meet the 5-foot setback. Similar to the fence discussion we had a moment ago, retaining walls within the side setback would also have to meet a 6-foot maximum height. Since this wall has a maximum height of 10 feet, it does require effectively a variance, or in this case, a major PUD revision, to allow that height in that location. At that height, the wall will also have to have a fence on top of it for safety. So we have added a condition to clarify that the maximum height allowed would be 16 feet for the 10-foot wall with a 6-foot fence on top of it. An easement encroachment agreement is also required. That was added as a condition. That application has already been received and is pending review with the Board of Commissioners in conjunction with this request. So staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? I do have one question. I noticed, could we go back one more slide to the photograph? Yes, could we have your name and home address for the record?
Charles Dolan, 1002 Catherine Street.
I know Mr. Dolan well, but I noticed that we've got some wash there. How are y'all going to address your water issue? Is it going to go through the wall? Are you going to pipe it to the front or the back of the property?
It will have a swell on the top side of the wall to carry it to the front,
Okay.
possibly to the rear, but we have measures in place. Existing house.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions, Mr. Dolan? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve RZ 21, dash 0801 for approval
Do I hear a second?
with conditions.
Conditions, okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, this upcoming topic, due to conflict of interest, I want to recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay, awesome. Why don't you go ahead and just back away from the microphone? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you volunteering that at the beginning of this as opposed to being in the middle. Mr. Butler, file RZ 210802, change of conditions.
Sheriff's request for a change of conditions at 285 Flowing Wells Road regarding lighting and operation of athletic facilities at Augusta Prep. Shows location of the property on the west side of Flowing Wells Road. Again, it's currently zoned S1. Pretty much everything around it is zoned R2. Do have S1 to the north for an existing church. and the aerial view of the site. One of the things we're going to be talking about is the lights that are used on this football field here, and the existing site, and the plat of the property. So the request, back in 2011, the property was rezoned with some conditions regarding how many days lights could be operated, times, et cetera, quite a few conditions. It is now, and part of that was, let me go a little into that. Part of that was with an agreement between Spring Lakes and Augusta Prep. That's kind of what facilitated some of that. With kind of over the past school year, Augusta Prep has increased the number of days beyond that without revising the S1 or the agreement between between Spring Lakes and Augusta Prep. That prompted some discussion with the county and also Augusta Prep and Spring Lakes. Both Augusta Prep and Spring Lakes worked together to revise the agreement they have in place to allow them to have 18 days of operation of the lights per school year. Then also the original agreement, which the two mirror each other, our conditions and their agreement mirror both. So again, the major change here is going to 18 days instead of 10. Everything else, the other previous conditions are staying the same. Some of you in the audience may have seen a staff report before that basically took the county out of the whole shooting match essentially, except for one condition. It has been revised to basically adopt the old conditions, with this change here being the primary one. Again, in terms of future land use, it is within the neighborhoods area. Again, a school is allowed within that type of area. So again, we'll go back to the conditions. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Again, the biggest one is the first one, where lights can be used up to 18 days per year. And then the rest, again, schedule the start of an interscholastic competition, comply with noise ordinances, and not use lights for any practices, et cetera, et cetera. They're part of the original rezoning and also the Spring Lakes and Augusta Prep agreement. That includes staff recommendation.
Mr. Butler, so the 18-day increase, that was arrived at by a meeting between Augusta Prep and the Homeowners Association?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. Gentlemen, do you have any questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? Please give us your name and home address.
1304 Buena Vista Road, Augusta, 30909. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Thomas Burnside, I'm here, attorney for Augusta Prep. Joined with Derek Willard, who's our relatively new head of school there. And just for historical perspective, I was involved in this when it was approved some 10 years ago. There were several conditions placed on Augusta Prep, which were negotiated with Spring Lakes, minimize the intrusion of the lights on the neighborhood. The school did go to significant expense to buy directional lights, avoid spillage outside the field. They're pointed towards the field so they don't project as much toward the end zone and where the neighborhood is closest to the field. Of course, we planted a buffer, which was agreed upon, and agreed not to use the field. That's with the lights. And then agreed to wait a significant period of time before we came back and asked for any more. The purpose of that was to allow this buffer to grow in. We did have to do a lot of clearing and grading when we built the football field. Some of that was on the end. It needed to be nourished. Buffer was planted. I walked that area this morning. It has been totally reforested. Dense foliage at that end of the field. That's somewhat, prompted, passage of time prompted the idea to come back and ask for days. The school does desire to use the field more. Significant expense to install it. In an effort to be a good neighbor, did go back to Spring Lakes and negotiate with them and reach an agreement. Only condition that's being changed, number of days. There'd be a reasonable increase from 10 to 18, given the passage of time and the growth of that buffer. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Yes, sir. Please come forward and give us your name and home address.
My name is Dean Thompson. I live at 4212 Quail Springs Circle. My property is one of the closest to Augusta Prep field lights, greatly impacted by the lights and the public address system. I request that you not approve the rezoning request, and instead reduce the number of field lighting events from 10 to 8. The reasons are as follows. Under the 2011 rezoning, AP was limited to 10 days per school year. Since the lights were installed in 2012, AP has exceeded this condition 4 times in the 9 years, or better than 44% of the time. There are 11 events in 2013-2014 school year. There are 11 events in 2017-2018 school year. There were 16 times in the 2018-2019 school year. And there were 16 times in the 2020 to 2021 school year. And that included 3 times for installation of a fence around the track and 4 practices not supposed to be held. Condition number 4 under the 2011 rezoning was not to use the lights for any practice. Since 2012, this condition has been violated 8 times, 4 times each in the 2018 to 2019 and the 2020 to 21 school years, as I mentioned earlier. Condition 6, AP was to turn off the lights by 10:30 p.m., except on rare conditions. AP has violated this condition 11 times, 2 times in 2013-2014, 2 times in 2014-2015, 1 time in 2015-2016, 3 times in 2016-2017, 1 time in 2017-2018, and 2 times in the 2018-2019. So this doesn't appear to fall into a rare occurrence to me. The condition number 7 was to plant and maintain a significant landscape buffer. On February 23rd of 2014 to the 24th, a needed drainage ditch was dug behind my property that removed several landscape buffers or plants that were not replaced. In addition, the original plants have not been maintained. AP requested the lights for Friday night football games. Typically, they only have 4 to 5 Friday night football games in a school year. So what has changed since 2011 rezoning request and agreed to conditions? Of course, they want to use it more, but at what cost to their neighbors? PA system is very loud at times, is not appreciated by this neighbor. AP has not been very responsible in following the 2011 conditions as mentioned above, and I have contacted the Columbia County Code Enforcement at least 4 times over the years to request they enforce the approval conditions from 2011. Instead of enforcing the conditions, they appear to want to get the conditions changed so that they don't have to do anything. That is not appreciated by this taxpayer. I also strongly disagree with the planning and zoning comment that this is ultimately an issue between 2 neighbors. Columbia County approved the installation of AP's field lights with 7 conditions. County needs to step up and enforce those conditions rather than abandon their responsibilities to AP neighbors. Why would the county consider rewarding a business for not following the original restrictions? To summarize, there were 7 conditions created as part of the 2011 agreement. AP has been in gross violations in 4 of the 7, year after year with no recourse. To my knowledge, only phone calls were made by the code enforcement to AP. No fines were ever levied. If you do approve AP's request for more events, what message are you sending to the rest of the county? Just to go ahead and not follow the conditions agreed to by the county commissioners and request to change the approval conditions later? Certainly hope not. If any planning commission has family or friends with ties to AP, I would certainly hope that you excuse yourself, as Gene has done, from voting on this matter today. And I would like to speak on the August 17th. Any questions?
Right. Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
We appreciate your previous service on the Planning Commission. Is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on RC 210802 for change of conditions to approve.
Do I hear a second?
With
With conditions, I'm sorry again.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? No. So we have vote 4 to approve and 1 abstention. Mr. Butler, file RZ 210803, major PUD revision.
There's a request for a major PUD revision at 2569 Trade Center Drive. The request is for a major revision for a proposed tattoo parlor. This location of the property on the south side of Trade Center Drive. Again, as part of the Trade Center planning and development, property around it is a mixture of some industrial, some light industrial, and also an S1 for 2 churches. It shows an aerial view of the site itself and the existing site and the plat of the property. We're dealing with this one right here. So in terms of the request, with any kind of tattoo parlor, let me go into it a little bit with what they're wanting to do there. So they're going to operate in half of the building, about 1,500 square feet is going to be theirs. They're going to lease the other half to another tenant. They haven't decided who that would be yet. In terms of the operation, they already have microblading on site. Again, that's basically permanent cosmetic services, kind of a form of tattoo, but not the full gamut of it, in our opinion. So again, the added addition of the tattoo parlor, they would basically be from 9 to 6. They would be all appointment based. That wouldn't be you walk by and walk in and get a tattoo or anything. It's going to be one that you have to make an appointment for it. In terms of a request like this, most of the tattoo parlors, as long as they understand that they have Chapter 46 to abide by of our health and safety code, then we're typically okay with it. They have already met with health department on that. Health department actually said that they have already been involved with it, with the site itself, so they have no concerns with the request. There is some minor concern with the number of parking spaces on the site. They've said they're going to have 8 people on the property at one time. There's only 6 parking spaces. There is shared parking for this entire development, so it's one that it may be an issue, but it likely will not be. We're just pointing it out as a potential thing for them to think about as they grow over time. In terms of future development, this is within the Evanstown Center, or Evanstown Center Activity Center. This type of use is permitted there. Definitely meets the intent of the future land use map. Due to all this, staff recommends approval of the request for a major revision for a proposed tattoo parlor. Staff recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Excuse me. Any information you'd like to add to the presentation? Okay, thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve file RZ 210803, major PUD revision to add a tattoo. Tattoo as allowed for use at 2569 Trade Center Drive.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? To approve carries 5-0. Mr. Butler, file RZ 210804, major S1.
This is a request for a major S1 revision at 2200 Indigo Hall Drive. The request is to remove lot size requirements from subject parcel. It shows the location of the property. It's off of Furious Ferry Road. The current zoning, again, is currently zoned S1 special. You have the back, Thrive in Augusta, which is a senior care facility, excuse me. And it shows aerial view of the site. Also the existing site, actually the entrance itself. And also the plat of the property. We're dealing with this property there. And the overall development plan. So with the rezoning in 2016 for the property, the use that was added to this one is these are senior cottages. They also had a requirement for a certain lot size for each individual cottage. The applicant is looking to remove that requirement for those. So essentially, we're taking what would have been, you see a bunch of lots on the GIS map, and those would now be gone. They would basically own the entire parcel, so it functions kind of like multifamily in that respect. In terms of what it's going to look like and function, it's going to be the exact same. I mean, it's not going to be any change there. You're not going to know there's property lines when you drive by it, that sort of thing. So really no concern from planning in regards to that. There are a couple of conditions, so I'll get to here in a moment. Future development, again, this is a new future development map, so it is a little different than what we've seen. This is one that's kind of an interim stand-in for the moment. So this area here that it would be in front of is actually a professional corridor now. So in terms of future land use, they're supposed to have commercial on here, definitely meets that. Then it's supposed to kind of transition back into being residential in nature. Again, if this fits the intent of that future development map. In terms of the conditions for the property, we do have one that's a carryover from the original rezoning that we're recommending. Buffers must be undisturbed and supplemented. There is one. The next one is from environmental. It is more of a FYI. Be aware of that if they do convert these to assisted living structures, they'll have to meet the requirements for Center for Critical Facilities. Can't locate within a 100-year flood or the 500-year floodplain. And the other conditions are in regards to the property. If we can go back to the overhead view of the property. So on, pick one.
Trying to find
Go to the next one.
How far back?
Go to the next one. So there's a retaining wall here, and some of the issue there's some issue with the drainage off of it. So there are two conditions that are in regards to that. We are going to add some extra language to this one here. So we have this area here will say issue any closeout, permanent power, NOT, or certificate of occupancy. Again, just a minor revision to that. But again, that's already been discussed with the applicant in terms of those requirements. That includes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions to staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add? All right. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve with conditions, to deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with conditions, file RZ 210804, major S1 revision to remove cottage lot lines.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. History, file RZ 210805, major PUD revision.
Yes, so this is a major revision, and the location is 3654 Camelback Lane on 0.35 acres, and the current zoning is PUD, planned unit development. The request is to reduce building setbacks for proposed pool. Here is the location. The lot is in Westlake, section 15 on a cul-de-sac. Here is the zoning map. The PUD is Westlake, and there is backs up to Vaughan Road that has some different zonings, R3 and P1. Here is the aerial close-up of the lot off the cul-de-sac. And here is can you go back one? Sorry. So you can see here that this is the entrance, the driveway, and a driveway here. There really isn't a backyard to this property. And here there is a retaining wall and paved patio, which is basically the backyard, which the owner would like to keep. These existing site photographs and a plat. So the plan of where the pool is going, so the house line here, and the 30-foot setback requirement is this curved line here. And the pool is located here, and there's a colored plan of it there. Just so that you can see where the corner of the house is actually just crossing the setback line. So part of this variance for the pool will also include a 3-foot setback reduction where the house is to allow that. So the pool is going to be in the front part of the house where the second driveway is, and the applicant has got letters of support from the neighbors and the HOA for this. And the applicant herself is a landscape designer and submitted a landscape plan showing trees as a buffer around this property to help beautify the neighborhood. Here is the plan submitted with the variance request. The green giant arborvitae will be along the frontage on Camelback Court, and there'll be other trees, tea olives and camellia, for accent trees to help make this look attractive. So staff is recommending approval to the major revision to reduce building setbacks for a proposed pool. And I also forgot to mention the applicant has a special needs adult child whose doctor recommended that they have some outdoor therapy areas as well, and that's one of the reasons for the pool that they're building. And the conditions are that the landscape plan will be implemented as per the zoning submittal with any details worked out with a county landscape architect.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions, staff? This is a public hearing. Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? All right. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Accept a motion to approve with conditions, to deny or disable.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with condition file RZ 210805, major PUD revision to reduce front setback for pool at 2654 Camelback Lane.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Approved carries 5-0. Ms. Neal, file RZ 210806, conditional use for massage. It's just odd not having Mr. Butler,
Well, this is a conditional use, not an operator's
but it
license.
involves massage. I thought that was his department.
Jeez. No comment.
This is a request for a conditional use for massage at 4571 Cox Road on 0.45 acres, currently zoned P1 professional. This shows the location of the site and the zoning of the site, currently surrounded by P1 zoning and backs up to R2, single-family residential zoning, with Evans High School across the street. The applicant's requesting a conditional use for massage services on site. She has indicated that she will be the only operator in Suite A. However, this conditional use would apply to the entire property unless you guys decide otherwise. So the owner can rent out the spaces to any other massage operators licenses in the future. The applicant's hours will be by appointments only from 9 to 6 Wednesday through Friday, 9 to 2 on Saturday, and emergencies only on Tuesdays. And adjacent properties are professional in use as well. This shows the existing site, the plat of the property. And this shows the future development map. They're currently in the in-town neighborhoods character area, which is intended for moderate to high-density residential and civic uses such as community centers, libraries, parks, places of worship, et cetera. Things that basically help serve the residences in that area. And staff recommends approval.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions, staff? Thank you very much. Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, ma'am. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or disable.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve RZ 210806.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Approved carries 5-0. Ms. Neal, will stay with you. File VA 210801, variance to section 74-8 Delta lots and 90-131.5C2.
Yes, sir. This is a request for variances to the sections you just mentioned at 423 Water Oak Lane on 1.24 acres, currently zoned R1 single family residential. It shows the location of the site off Water Oak Lane, and it also is considered a reverse lot to Stevens Creek Road. It shows the zoning of the site. It's currently surrounded by all R1 zoning with one S1 zoning, which is a telecommunications tower to the north. There's the aerial of the site, and this is the driveway that's in question. This shows the plat of the property. All right, and this is the driveway off Water Oak Lane and the access off Stevens Creek Road. So the applicant's requesting to keep the driveway off Stevens Creek Road. It was in a construction driveway originally and has since been paved. During the construction, there was a note put in by stormwater compliance that it would need to be removed once the house was built, but it has since been paved all the way to Stevens Creek Road. This shows the road classifications in the area. So Stevens Creek Road is considered an arterial road with 45 miles per hour zone speed limit. And then Old Stevens Creek Road right here is considered a local road with 35 miles per hour. when you're thinking about the zoning in this area, it's all single-family residential. It's not a lot of high traffic. Although it's classified as an arterial road, it can be considered, traffic-wise, to be considered like a local road. And traffic's also spoke to that as well. And they've also mentioned that there's ample intersection site distance in each direction of the driveway. And the existing cul-de-sac at the end of Water Oak Lane measures 55 feet in diameter, which is 25 feet less than the 80-foot county standard. So it's kind of giving a little bit of justification for the driveway. There's also currently a new driveway encroachment ordinance policy and permit that was presented at the last committee meeting that will go to the Board of Commissioners on August 3rd and August 17th for second readings. If this policy is adopted, it could affect this variance, and permits may be required, and modifications to the driveway and the culvert may be required as part of that process. And staff recommends approval.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? Please come to the microphone. These are recorded, and you give us your name and home address.
Phillips, 423 Water Oak Lane. And that area, as you can see right there, has been there for like 5 years. And up to the edge right here.
And you can draw on that with your finger.
You can draw on the screen.
Touch it and draw on it.
Sorry?
You can touch the screen and draw on it.
Oh, okay. That's the only part that's that's been put in, and there's so much rain and water that's going on right now, has been for years, and it's sinking. It's very hard. I put my garbage can out right there. It's very hard to get it out there. I have a health problem, and I can't put it down my garage driveway, and so I put it out here. It's getting really, really full of water and that sort of thing. Also, it's the culvert that's right there, right here on Stevens Creek, has been there for 35 years, or 40 years, something like that. We had it checked out when we built the house 5 years ago. And I don't know why, but it's been there. There's a lot of trucks that are at the bottom of this area right here. And I don't know, but they've sold some of these houses that are this way. And they have so many trucks and in there now that it's hard to get in and out at times. And my neighbor right here too is having the same problem. That's another reason I wanted access to my house from that side. And I think that's about it.
Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to disapprove file VA 210801, variances to allow driveway on Stevens Creek Road for the property at 4223 Water Oak Lane.
Do I hear a second? I'll second from the chair for discussion. Okay, gentlemen?
Well, it appears with the change in code, this could be problematic to approve it now, and then later, 3 weeks from now, I guess it would be not allowed.
So with the new code, is it going to disallow this, or is there a permitting process that'll be defined?
More of a permitting and construction process. The issue primarily of what you're referring to is improvements within the county right-of-way, as the applicant indicated. If it's the portion that's within the county road right-of-way on Stevens Creek, that would be more of the issue than her paving up to the property line, the road right-of-way. That process that's working its way through to for second reading next weeks, 2 weeks, at the Board of Commissioners would conceivably approve a process in which any new driveways may require permitting and construction standards that would satisfy traffic engineering and county engineering standards. So this may be a situation where this improvement has not been previously approved, therefore would have to go through that process, and either it may be able to be approved conceivably, but it may require it to be constructed in a manner that complies with those new standards that are up for consideration.
So will those applications be made through planning and zoning, or will they go to Mr. Exley?
They would be handled through engineering or
Okay.
traffic services.
Okay, all right. All right, gentlemen, any other discussion or questions?
That's kind of what's got this in a bind. It was just built without kind of having
To
some
some
professional
degree.
eyes look
Some
at
degree,
it.
this is a, you guys, certainly have been through this, number of developments. Typically, we don't allow double frontage, access. So if we have a primary street like a Stevens Creek, pick your bigger streets, Evans to Locks, things of that nature, you don't gain residential access off of those as a second point of access. You come in off of the interior street network, like a Water Oak Lane in this instance. So part of the reason for some of the concern would be this is a one-off, maybe that's acceptable. We start getting 2, 3s, 4s, this starts to become a pattern, and it's going to be hard to walk that back. Applications. Again, if this was a brand new subdivision you were looking at for the first time, we wouldn't have allowed it to get to this.
Questions?
Quick point of clarification. There is a possibility, if it is disapproved, it could be a requirement to remove the section that's within the right of way. Do you want to add that as a condition? Up for you to decide.
Okay, would the gentleman like to add
Add
that
a
as a
condition
condition?
to have it removed or to let it?
To have it be removed within a certain time period.
Because it was an unapproved improvement within a county right-of-way.
Motion to, what would be a reasonable time period?
60 days are the usual.
Yeah, usually we either 60 or 90, but 60 to 90 days.
To remove the portion that's in the right of way?
On decision at the Board of Commissioners.
I was gonna say, would that be,
Not from this.
no,
not from
it would
this-
have to be after
Because you're making a recommendation.
they make their decisions.
Right, Board of Commissioners decision.
Like to amend your motion?
Guess I'm gonna have to. I mean, I don't wanna force that issue on her.
Okay, so if you'd restate
tear
your
it up,
motion.
but I guess that's ultimately what's got to happen.
State your motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to disapprove file VA 210801, variances to allow driveway on Stevens Creek Road for the property at 4223 Water Oak Lane, and that the improvements be removed
From the right of way within 60.
from the right-of-way within 60 days of Board of Commissioners approval or disapproval.
My second holds. Gentlemen, any other discussion? All in favor to disapprove? Motion to disapprove carries 5-0. Ms. Mystery, file VA 210802, variance to sections 74-8 Delta lots in 90-131-5C2.
Yes, sir. This is a variance for 4425 Water Oak Lane. It is the neighbor of the previous variance request. It's 1.3 acres, and the current zoning is R1, single-family residential, and the variances are the same ones that we just mentioned. I'll try not to repeat all the things that we already mentioned. So this is the neighbor to the adjacent property. They do have access off Water Oak Lane from the cul-de-sac. They back onto Stevens Creek Road, which is where the issue with the driveway came up. Here is the zoning map. It's R1. And here's a close-up of the property. So the owners bought the house in 2017. There wasn't a driveway onto Stevens Creek Road at that time. Here is the 2017 and 2019 aerials, just to explain that the driveway was active in 2017. It is a gravel driveway at the moment. Here's a photograph of the existing site from Stevens Creek. And the applicant has requested to retain the driveway and to also improve it. The reasons being that they say that the cul-de-sac is narrow and sometimes there's construction vehicles or trash vehicles that tend to block the driveways. They have a septic tank just like the neighbors. They would like to keep this driveway to use for septic tank maintenance. And they also want to develop the property more. This is a plat of the property with the house on it. This is a sketch from the health department, shows where the septic tank plan is in the back of the property. And the owner has proposed this plan for what they want to do. This is where the driveway off Stevens Creek that you just saw the photograph of. The house is here. They want to add a new garage building here and a new pool here. The septic field is in this area here. And there is the red line, which is the 20-foot drainage and utility easement. The health department has made a comment that no vehicles can cross the septic drain fields because that would damage them. The owner understands that. And going back to the same comment about the cul-de-sac widths, this diameter is 55 feet and the county code recommendation is 80 feet. That's part of the justification for recommending approval on this one. So staff recommendation is to approve the variance with the condition that the new driveway will meet all applicable required standards and include concrete paving from Stevens Creek Road, access to a minimum of 20 feet past the property line to reduce the gravel from entering the public road.
All right, gentlemen, any questions, staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, would y'all like to come forward and give us any additional information? Please give us your name and home address.
Rochelle Hitchler, 425 Water Oak Lane.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Hitchler.
Okay.
So she pretty much covered everything. Even today, we had a couple of trucks that were doing some maintenance at our home, and it blocked the school bus. So they had to kind of pull in our driveway. I got a nasty fist from the driver. Also the neighbors, they tend to park, because we don't have an HOA in our development. So when the neighbors park along the street, when they're doing maintenance or whatever on their vehicles, there's been times we can't access our property. We've had to wait for them to move or park at the end of the street. And then the other one was just from our point of view, if we could keep the driveway, at least until we could get in the pool and to have future access to the septic tank, that would be super helpful on our part. Other than that.
How many questions, staff? Applicant, I'm sorry.
You're looking for a permanent setup, or it's just temporary, you get these additional?
I would love for it to be permanent if we could turn it into there. I know that we have it a gravel right now, so I wasn't sure what requirements would be required in the future to make it permanent. But we were planning to put a permanent driveway to kind of loop around our property in this area. It would loop to the front so that way we could close it off if we don't need access, or we would have a back way out of our property if the road was blocked. And then any type of septic, when they come to pump or anything that had to be done in the septic fields in the future, we would have a back access to access that directly without having anybody drive across or
I frankly don't like voting on this at all because of the fact that we're waiting on the county commission to determine what they're gonna do. But it seems that we have to do, my opinion.
All right, thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, accept a motion to approve with conditions to deny or to table.
Conditions again. There we go. A condition to make it temporary to do this work would be the only thing I would agree to approving it on. That's why I'm curious pertaining to the more permanent status requested.
You could add that to the condition. Construction access,
then-
but can't be permanent and has to be removed at the end of construction.
But then, depending on what the county commission does, you can make.
I don't think the commissioners are gonna deny somebody construction access to their property. You just can't make a permanent entrance and exit.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm finished.
No, I think the question with regards to the temporary nature of it is the timeline in which the anticipated improvements would be made that require the temporary access. And I would caution the planning commission to double check and maybe ask the applicant if you have any questions regarding that. But I'm seeing 1 to 5 years or several years involved. That process is, again, a long. It's not like you're building a house and in 4, 6, 8 months they're going to be done and out. This is a long-term project.
Is the new ordinance gonna cover construction entrances and exits to the rear property? Would that be something that would be appropriate to add to that?
I don't think it does. I think it's,
Why won't it?
because that's usually handled under your NOI, NOT.
So it's already on the books.
Yeah, I mean, it's really part of your LDP process.
So that's something you request when you come in to get your construction permits and that kind of thing, the ingress and egress from the property?
There
Okay.
may be a path, and I'm not advocating that this is a way forward for them, but there may be through the LDP process for construction of, again, I don't know if they're gonna trigger that on this. I'm trying to think, would they trigger this in, they went and pulled the pool permit, to build the pool, let's just say, or the garage as an example, would that be enough to trigger an LDP?
It should.
It should.
It's one, I don't see why it wouldn't.
That's kind of was thinking, it's one of those that I would think it would, so then perhaps they could get it
LDP means
for.
land disturbance permit.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry. And so maybe they could do it for that time period, but again, that's going to be a very finite amount of time, hopefully, not for the next 5 years, next 6 years, if they, slow walk it sort of thing.
And you'd hate to see them spend any money on something like this, not knowing what's gonna happen.
And that's something,
What bothers
some
me.
time period is going to be here in the next, basically, less than 2 weeks. County Commission has got that on for second reading at 17th?
Yeah, same as this meeting.
Better to postpone it.
Yeah, 17th. Well, let me, I guess, further complicate your deliberations by reminding you that, again, this is if it's a temporary thing, that may be something, but if this is if she's looking for, or they're looking for a permanent solution, this is the same discussion you just had one lot over.
Right.
And then that's why I was asking the question about temporary use I could go with, but do you have current plans, any timeline on the garage and the pool, or that's just somewhere in your future?
But there's a method to deal with that.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so you don't have an architect working on it and permits being.
So I'm gonna make a motion from the chair to deny the request, file VA 21-0802. I'd like to add the, with conditions, and I'd like to add the condition of pending the Board of Commissioners decisions to possibly remove the gravel from the right-of-way.
Oh, are you referring to remove the gravel within 60 days of the decision, or are you?
Yes.
Similar to the previous request?
So we mirror the other one.
Okay.
We're not showing favoritism either way, and then the Board of
Okay.
Commissioners
Just
can settle.
wanna
this-
make sure, yeah.
Can decide how they're gonna handle this, and the applicants can reapply based on the new ordinance, so that we don't get hung up, excuse me. So the motion's been made from the chair, and we need a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. Or motion to deny, I'm sorry. Mr. Butler, file VA 210803, variation to section 90-96, Evans Town Center Overlay District.
Mr. Sheriff's request for variation at 4240 Washington Road in regards to some roll-up doors on a side property line. This is the location of property on the west side of Washington Road. And again, the current zoning, pretty much everything around it is zoned C2. You have this plenty of development to the south that basically functions like C2. And aerial view of the site, and you have an existing building on the site that will be gone at some point in the near future, which is the existing site. And also a very old plat. This is a proposed plan. So what this is proposed to be is a Take 5 oil change operation. So one of the things there, this is within Evans Town Center, as we were discussing. So you have the roll-up doors on the sides, because again, when you come into oil change, you come in this way. Come in here, the oil change, and you leave. So you have to have doors on two sides of the building in order to do that. So the applicant has faced the doors to the side property lines in this design. They actually did change it a little bit from the original proposed plan after some discussions with staff. And we'll see on the next slide the proposed kind of the doors. It shows them closed and kind of what they'll look like open, during the business. A lot of times, staff is really more curious about what the doors are going to look like than the actual placement of them, especially because there are plenty of doors on the sides of buildings in Evans Town Center. So we do have a condition that we would like these doors to stay as they've shown us. Also, we do have kind of the thing to think about with the doors themselves is how to kind of soften them from the street, how to kind of make them disappear if you can. It's a little difficult to do that, but we'd like to at least make an effort to try at least. So we do have the landscape plan will be prepared by a landscape architect, and also you do have some conditions in regards to how that will be designed. And again, staff recommends approval with those conditions.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff?
You talked about them driving in and driving out. I didn't catch the part where they pay.
I mean, that's up to them. I mean, if he wants to not charge, that's his business.
They're not taking money. I'm voting no.
This
Get
is a
line
public
behind me,
hearing.
Russell.
Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor or against this variation? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve with conditions to deny or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with conditions file VA 210803, variation to the Evans Town Center Overlay District to allow overhead doors on the sides of the building at 4240 Washington Road.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? All in favor? Approved carries 5-0. And I will say I've used the, your outfit down in front of Goodwill, and they do a great job. Got a good team there. Okay, our last item on the agenda tonight, file VA 210804. Ms. Montgomery, you have the last words tonight.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a variance to section 90-144, placement of buildings and structures at 118 Lakestone Pond Way. The lot is located in the back of the Barrington subdivision and is currently zoned R3 single-family residential, as are the surrounding properties. In this zoning district, fences within the side or rear building setbacks can be up to 6 feet tall. This is the aerial of the site. I will say the site does not look like this right now. It is under construction with a house and a pool. So this is the existing site, and I do want to note this is the neighbor's house behind, so you can kind of see the relative elevations there from the street view. And this is the existing site and the pool that's being constructed in the backyard. The applicant's purpose for this variance request is a desire for additional privacy in the backyard, particularly with the pool construction. There is obviously some slope on the lot. You can see where they've had to put in some walls and some steps. This is the existing site plan, this dashed red line showing the proposed fence location. So they are requesting an increase in the allowed height of that fence from 6 feet to 8 feet. And this is the demonstration that the 6-foot fence height would basically sit below the neighbor's deck. So the concern is that the neighboring property owners sitting on the deck may be able to see over the fence. They did cite the topography of the site as part of the justification for this request. Looking at this topographic map, there is obviously some slope to the property. It does mainly follow this direction though, so it's not so much between these lots as it is falling across the property down towards the pond, which was also somewhat somewhat visible from that street view where we saw the front of their house as well as the neighbor's house behind, where there wasn't a drastic difference, and the topographic map kind of backs that up. We also did hear from one of the adjacent property owners behind them who did send us the photo from his backyard, which is already fenced on his property, kind of showing that he couldn't really see through that fence. He was not in favor of increasing the height for this subject property. So typically when we have approved previous requests for increased fence heights, it's usually significant topographic differences between the lots. So we would expect the fall to be probably this direction, which it's not in this case. In some cases, some of those fences included non-solid sections of the fence, such as lattice type design. That's not currently part of the proposal for this fence. Quite often, previous approvals included previously existing fences that were being repaired and therefore coming in for permits. This is a new construction site, so that does not apply in this case. And they generally had support from the neighboring property owners and the HOA. Now, in this case, they do have approval from the HOA. They did submit that with the request. Although it's interesting to note that the most adjacent property owners who would be most affected by this fence are not covered by the same HOA, so that they do have approval from their HOA, but it may not be as effective as you would like it to be at really addressing concerns from the most impacted property owners. And we did, of course, get the comments from the adjacent property owner that was not in favor of the variance. So some of the justifications we've used on previous applications to allow the increased fence height really don't apply to this property. So staff didn't really have a strong argument for granting this variance, and the recommendation is disapproval.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions to staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Do you have anything you'd like to come up and add? Please come up and give us your name and home address.
Warren Williams, and my address is 118 Lakestone Pond Way. Well, that would be my future address. The way this whole thing started was we contacted a fencing company, several of them, to put us a fence up in the backyard. And we requested to have a taller fence, mainly in the area where there is not a fence. In the picture that one of the pictures that she showed, we don't have so much of an issue with the person that has a fence. But this area right here on down, there is no fence. So it's nothing there. In the topography map shows one thing, but when you go to the property, it's a severe slope going down. So even if I'm standing there, if the fence is 6 foot, it's below the neighbor's property that's adjacent to us. So we were just trying to ask for a slight amount of increase in that fence height, provide a little bit more of a sound barrier, because we have 5 children, we got grandchildren, and there'd be a lot of noise in the backyard, and we were trying to keep peace with the neighbors behind us and the people on side of us, on side of them, and just trying to get a little bit of increased height in that fence, that's all. We weren't trying to build an enormous fence to try to make an eyesore for the neighborhood. And we did reach out to our neighborhood, and they approved us going 8 feet with the fence before we even, started the process. The fencing company did come out and put up some extremely high posts, which weren't even going to be the height of the fence. They were going to build the fence and then cut the post back. So we were just trying to get a little bit of increased height to provide some privacy and sound barrier from the pool noise and the kids in the backyard to kind of satisfy the neighbors and be considerate of them also.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions?
You're requesting it to be 8 feet?
Yes, sir.
The fence on the side?
We're gonna put aluminum fencing down the side. That's facing, because we have on this side, it's facing the water, so it'll be aluminum here. It's no neighbors here, it's nobody here, just views of the pond here. And then we were only gonna put the wood along the back and then put aluminum here. Well, right at the edge.
Can they do aluminum?
Sir?
Asking staff, can we do aluminum? We
Yes,
can?
sir.
Okay, I thought we could do wood only.
That's that new pretty,
Aluminum railing
that's
around the
that
pool.
Okay,
pretty black aluminum.
okay,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like that kind of fence.
Wrought iron looking, but not wrought
okay,
iron.
got it. All right,
Is that a 6x6?
The fence?
Yeah, that post you're standing next to there.
I'm not sure, I'm not a fence guy, I just know they came and put those posts up. I don't
A
know.
4x4.
I think it's 4x4, it's not that big, it looks big in the picture, but it's just a standard size post.
Yeah, because you're pretty big, and in that picture, that post made you look small. But
I guess it's just a photograph.
Treat a tree right there.
Not that big.
all right, thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against a particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on VA 21-08-04 that we approve 8-foot fencing height.
Do I hear a second? Okay, any discussion?
Ma'am? For sure.
Second still hold?
I didn't second it. Mike seconded it.
All right, any discussion? Okay.
I mean, code is.
All in favor of approving an 8-foot fence? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 3-2. We have no text amendments, we have no legal matters. Do we have any staff or commissioner comments? I appreciate y'all helping us through a long agenda tonight. Do we have any public comments? Gentlemen, you picked a long meeting to see how government works. But that being said, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adjourning? Meeting's adjourned 7:41, almost 2. Who got it?